Well, good evening and welcome here to Lost Limbs Foundation Radio Network. As you see, there's somebody not with me tonight. He's not feeling well. I think he cooked for himself today, and that just didn't work out so well. He needs to stick with the frozen foods or the dash or whatever it is that he contacts and talks to. But yeah, so Mike's not going to be here. He's under the weather right now, but so glad that people kind of joined in here and for the evening. We've got Mary Marshall coming on, and it'll be a lot of fun talking to Mary. She's a wealth of information, and I'm looking forward to that. I haven't actually talked to Mary for a while now. It's been a little bit, so looking forward to that and having Mary on and discussing some things with her and seeing what she's got up to and what's happening in her world, in the paranormal MD's world. So we'll see how things are going with that and what she's up to with things. So if you haven't had a chance to jump out there and book Roads Hotel, they're doing a lot of investigations out there right now. There's a lot of people that have joined in and jumped out there and coming on and signing in and picking dates and all. So they're starting to get pretty filled up. So you may have to check it out and see what they've got going on because before long, those Saturdays are all going to be gone that everybody wants, and then the Fridays are going to be gone. So it's tough getting dates right now. So just check it out and see what you want, what you can come up with and what you can do there. Kind of the same thing with Ashmore. We've actually booked every Friday and Saturday night until November. So it's kind of crazy. We've been really busy. We've got a lot of weeknights that are booked as well. So we're looking forward to a great season. We've already started. We've already had investigations almost every Friday, Saturday night in March. So those are already cranked up and they're going well, and we're looking forward to it. Been working out there the last couple of days myself. I've been out there Sunday, and Norma and I were working on some stuff. No, I didn't bury her out there in the front yard. I get to see the pictures out there. We were kind of redoing some water line situations we have out there and trying to get that taken care of. And so we're doing that. And then, as most of you know, where we've announced it, everything, that we're building a house out there. Our good friend Ashley Burgoon is going to move out there, and as soon as we get the house built, so she'll be moving out there and taking over things and watching stuff that's happening out there. So I was out there yesterday. Nathan Langster, a friend, was out laying concrete block. He laid someplace around 1,000 yesterday. We ran about 14 blocks short to get the whole project done, or it would have been finished yesterday. But it's doing the crawl space for the house out there, and then I'll probably go out this weekend and start working on some stuff, getting the plates all laid around on top of the concrete blocks so we can start putting the I-joist trusses down and then start building a house. I was fortunate enough to buy building material in October, November because prices have gone crazy with that stuff. 2x4s I bought in November were like $360, and now they're like $750 or something like that. So it's nuts. But if you always looking for some place to do some type of donations or something like that, check out Lost Limbs Foundation. That's what we do the show with here and try to bring some awareness to that. But lostlimbsfoundation.org. You can PayPal Mike at lostlimbsfoundation.org. If you'll make a donation through PayPal, you can do it right there and do that. And every dime goes help kids, the amputee children. So help them out with that. And we appreciate anything you can do. It's the same thing with Rhodes Hotel. The bookings there are going to go to help amputee children. And you can't beat it. It's a great cause and a great way to help some kids out there. If you haven't seen it, check out our new YouTube channel, LLF Radio, Lost Limbs Foundation Radio on YouTube. We put all the episodes up there. You can check around on Facebook and find them. But if you just go to our YouTube channel, you'll find all the episodes we do right there on that channel. And I think this is like number 28 to the night. So I've been doing this for quite a few weeks. There's a couple weeks where Mike was sick, or he just didn't want to do the show by himself. I'm not sure which. And I was in the hospital, and so we missed a couple weeks there. But so it's been busy, and we're looking forward to that. So, but yeah, hopefully everybody kind of jumps in here tonight. If you got any questions for Mary when we bring her in, feel free to do so. We're going to probably bring her in here in just a minute anyway, so you can quit listening to me babble on and try to fill some time up. So the only thing I regret about doing this tonight with Mary is not doing it in person with Mary. I'd rather be there with her. So, but she's in Chicago. She's about 3 hours away or so, or we could do that. But tell you what, let's just go ahead and let's do this. Let's just bring Mary in. She's here right now. So I'm making sure she's not doing anything crazy before I bring her in here. So some people, scratching their heads or doing dancing or something like that before we burn out our lives. So let's bring Mary in here with us. There she is.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. I'm not doing bad. How are you?
I'm okay. And with you, you know what? What's the thing? You were sick, Mike's sick, everybody's sick. When are you gonna start staying healthy?
So, well, mine was the situation where I ended up getting a leg scratch when I was tearing down the mobile home out at Ashmore. And so I got stuck in the hospital for like 6 days with a infection. So, yeah, it wasn't fun.
I think I'm so sorry to hear this because we think we see each other's stuff on Facebook, but we don't a lot of the times. I was
Right.
completely unaware of this, so I'm glad you're doing better.
So,
Or I
yeah,
would
I'm
have
fine
bugged
now.
you. I would have hit you up on Messenger.
I honestly don't post stuff like that when I'm out in the hospital. I had a pacemaker put in. Actually, it's been like 2 years ago now. And or maybe it's been a year. I guess 2 years ago. It was right at the very beginning of the pandemic because my appointment was like March 8th, and they shut down the world right like after that. And but I didn't post anything about that either. I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to say anything. But
I go back and forth with that myself. I kind of have started, if it's something where it's going to be big, significant amount of time, I kind of put it out there so people know that if I'm not responding to like messages and stuff, especially if it's, somewhat business or paranormal related. So I kind of do that like, public notice out of out of order temporarily.
yep. Actually, I did 2 radio shows from the hospital. I had an ablation done once, and I did it, and then I had another ablation done, and I told the girls, I said, "Look, I said I got to do this radio show tonight." I said, "Can you just put like a do not disturb sign on my door for like an hour?" And she's like, "Yeah, I can do that." So that's what we did. We put a do not disturb sign on my door, and went and did the radio show, and that was it. So I did it from the hospital bed.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You're so much better than I am. It's you know what? It depends. It depends on what it is too. It's like if you're like it depends like if like for me it was after like surgeries or something like that, certain surgeries. Fine, other surgeries not so much. Like the one I had in April, oh my god, that was like medieval torture. I can't take pain medicines. And it literally was like I felt like I don't know, trapped in my head. I couldn't move. It was, yeah. But now the second back surgery I just had on the 30th at the end of last year in December, that's fine. You know what I
That's
mean?
great.
So it was just what was being done and how much and stuff and all that. But, so last year I was kind of in the year before being creative about my paranormal investigating and stuff like that because I ended up doing like 6 investigations virtually as their medium. So, and everybody, each team would want something in a little bit different way, but it was kind of a really cool way to still kind of be a part. You know what I mean? I got to go
Right.
and see the locations. They take you through. Some were doing it before, so in a weird way, I still got to investigate, just doing it a little differently this time.
So yeah, that sounds kind of interesting. Anyway, just a chance to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, well, you know what? Because it combines everything. It's like I've been, like you, I've been doing this in here at the field so many years now. It's really just kind of taken on a journey, and every few years it's like, okay, I kind of get a little more attached to this aspect. Now I'm kind of probably more into the parapsychology side of things and mediumship side of things. Um, but I'm still teaching on the science side. So I kind of best of both worlds, you know.
There you go. Well, we probably have a few people in here that may not know you. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself so they'll kind of get to know you a little bit more.
I am looking in here. Hi, Mike. I hope you feel better. And then Carolyn. I know Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn. Um, I'm looking at your comments before I'm even telling
Yeah,
people.
sure.
Sorry. I am like, it says has autoimmune. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have autoimmune too. And it can just plays havoc with you. Okay, so who ADD squirrel. So I have been investigator researcher for over 20 years now in the paranormal field. I teach paranormal studies at the colleges, and honestly, it's one of the few things I'm really proud of. I started that program, went in there, developed an entire paranormal studies program at one of the colleges. Since then, I teach various types of courses around and about, some science related, some maybe not so much. And I'm an author. I have a book, Continuum. It's available on Amazon. Plug.
Oh, sure.
Right. And the other thing, and I do in the last few years have been doing psychic medium reads. And I'll have to tell you what I really, really enjoy about this. It was really hard for me. And I think you know this. I think I actually said it at one of your events for me to I felt like I was coming out of the closet with this, because people who know you are all like, what? Because I didn't talk about it. It just was so contrary to the other things that I was doing in the field that I just felt like, and I wasn't ready. I just personally wasn't ready for that. What I like about it now is when I started doing investigations, like most people that have been doing this a long time, we were doing home investigations. That's all we did. You didn't have places like Ashmore's Estates and different places to go to, to kind of get your feelers out and learn and experience. So you were doing home cases, and it was really in that sense of really truly helping people. But then as that changed in things, it kind of took a turn. I got involved in starting more, rather than looking for proof, of trying to figure out why and how this is happening. And now with the psychic mediumship and doing the reads again, I feel like I've come full circle. I'm back to where I started. And one of the things I really liked about it, which was helping people, and that makes me feel good. So yeah, I mean, those are some of the things that I do. And then I'm back, trying to get back into the game of things this year and doing all kinds of exciting things there.
Now, with the mediumship, you haven't really been doing that for a lot of years yet, have you?
No, I have only really been doing public, and I say public because it's something I've had people who you'll find, like that person here and there in the field who might have been around me and experienced it, where I was using it for myself for cases, for investigations. And really, I have to tell you, it was like Scotty Rourke was
Right.
he was a big one in encouraging me. He was doing his Psychics Unite thing, and he was doing this, it cracked me up, and it's not really like it was like this, but in a funny way, I say he was like stalking me on Messenger. Every once in a while, there would just be this message, and I knew it had to do something with this. And I'm like, what? And he kind of just, like fly, birdie, fly, kind of thing, to give me that, because the biggest and the hardest thing is the trust. And I really do take it so seriously that I had concerns about, well, what if I say something and it's wrong? And those kind of things. And it just was this, I wanted to make sure I was really good at what I was doing before I involved other people in it. If that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's really, I mean, you're getting people in very vulnerable states a lot of times. And I think it's just really important to, psychologically, to take things very seriously and how you're doing it. and, with people. So yeah, I mean, I was not doing it publicly. I was using it privately, and refining it as I went for many, many years. Um, I really was more, I don't want to say accidental, but it was not intentional. I actually, because of the way I was raised, religious reasons, even family, to this day, I can't talk about actually anything to do with the paranormal with extended family. So yeah, I kind of kept trying to push it away, push it away. I don't want to deal with this. And then I did go through really bad attachment many years ago now, and that kind of even steered me more away, kind of like this is just freaking me out, and then, like I said, life's an evolution, and you come to terms and realize that, fighting is futile. It's going to be there, and you might as well do something useful with it and good.
Yeah, I've got Norma's nephew has he has some abilities that he's just kind of like testing the waters and things like that. But I told him like to read Chip Coffey's book, Growing Up Psychic, because he's got a lot of stuff in there that talks about that. But is Scotty still doing the Psychics Unite?
I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, I'm assuming so, but I don't know. Um, Initially, like what I was just doing, I was trying to do some meetups kind of a thing and getting other people together. And for me personally, what was happening, like where he lives, it was happening where I live. There was no such thing as getting, like, I went to the churches and everything else to try to get like low cost rental of rooms.
Mm-hmm.
It was costing a fortune. And then I'm like, I couldn't keep doing it. So I just kind of, turn the reins back over, and just stop doing that. And honestly, here's the thing. I really needed to focus on where I wanted to go with it and what I wanted to do. It's really interesting because I still learn. I will learn for the rest of my life. It's going to evolve. New things come in, from the other side, and how it may present itself to me. Um, and so, yeah, it's learning. Like I, for the longest time, I was doing reads and I felt really horrible. Like I would have you have your clients, and they come back, and I they're like, oh, and you said, yeah, and then this happened, and that's what you said, and I'm like, I don't remember. I don't remember. And then finally I realized, no, I don't have dementia. It was really when I'm talking, obviously I'm going to remember more of what I'm saying. It's not that I'm channeling, but I'm still that just really conduit. It's like that interpreter. So it's coming in one way so quick and coming out. It's not going into the parts of the brain where you're storing long-term memory. So if it's coming from spirit, somebody who's deceased, or a spirit guide, I don't have a very good retention for what they said from, 2 months up the road, what happened. Now, if it was a conversation you and I were just having, then I would remember it. But how silly is it? It took me a while to figure this out oh, well, yeah, that's why. So yeah, it's been a kind of thing. And now it's like I'm getting to combine it all. This summer in July, I had this woman, Aileen Hannell, contact me. And she does basically kind of like spiritual type of events, if like retreats. Very, very, very talented person herself. She's a coach and all that sort of thing. And so she's doing this trip to France, asked me if I want to guest host it and do the guide, and brought some things to the table. And I'm really excited about it because we're going to be taking things like, she has actually developed a game called Cosmic Compass. And so it's this whole kind of like interactive thing, but it's kind of like, well, how we're leading it is your soul's purpose, learning to identify different energies, consciousness training, um, and then to give the full experience as we go through some of this with the people working on that and intuition and identifying the different energies, is having them use that in real haunted locations. And we're in France, so we're going to cool ones like castles, with La Dame
Mhm.
Blanche, and stuff. So that's like, so it's super cool for everybody. But it's really kind of going to be a very self discovery, parapsychological, I'll say it that way, as well as paranormal retreat. And I'm just completely excited about it. Um, the location is on the side. I mean, it's crazy. It's on the side. She's from France. She still has her French accent. Um, the location that we're staying at, like, is on the side of a mountain with a saltwater pool. We've got haunted grounds behind us where the monks used to go for meditation. It's I'm just really stoked about it. I think it's going to be super cool. So I mentioned that because some of the other stuff is like, the classes, and I'm doing some virtual galleries and a couple events or conferences, but this is completely new, the France retreat. So I'm excited about that one.
So yeah, that sounds fun. I remember I seen something that you had out there that you were doing it. So I think it's in July or something like that
Yeah,
this year.
it is. Yeah, it is in July.
See, I
Um,
did see that. So
yeah, and that's pretty good. I mean, it's like we said, sometimes you see stuff and sometimes you don't. But yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. I'm actually bringing science into it though, even there, because we're going to be doing it's listed as supernatural experiments, but they're basically experiments that we would hold, but I'm going to take them a little bit step further, like the Estes method. I have a plan because I want to document what happens as well, to take it a little bit further than it has, because
Mary
it's
kind of
working.
froze up.
Not that
There she's
it
back.
works, but
Okay.
how it works. Oh, I froze. Oops.
Yeah,
Um,
that's all right.
so I'm not sure how it's working, but like the Estes method, um, I think it works, but how is it working? Meaning, is it from the outside in? Is this actually some type of entity speaking through this spirit box, or are the people themselves being slightly in a meditative state from that, those sounds of those things, that sound,
Right.
and then you're blindfolded and everything else, deprivation, that are they getting into some sort of meditative state and they're actually working like a medium mate, psychic medium mate. So it's a couple different ways, and there's ways which I won't bore everybody with and get into now, how I'm going to do that in that testing. So oh my gosh, James. Yeah, number I'm looking at the comments here, and Michelle. Yep, I recognize some of those. Um, should I look at this one question from Jamie Lynn here?
Yeah.
Mary, with mediums taking over television media, do you personally follow any of those people? Do you have a preference on how others do readings? No and no. I'm not going to say that I haven't through the years. I have watched, oh yeah, yeah, Amy, um, what's the show? See, that tells him what Dead Files.
Oh, Dead
Took me a
Files. Yeah.
while. Yeah, it took me a bit. I mean, I have watched that. I have watched Long Island Medium, some of those. I've watched some of the Tyler Henry, I think is his name.
Right.
But nobody regularly. And I don't have a preference because I think everybody works different. For me personally, like Jamie, I always say I'm like the meat and potatoes of the psychic medium, meaning you're not going to get all the fancy, relishes and all the garnish around the, and everything else. It's like pretty straightforward. I don't do cards. I don't get into, not that there's anything wrong with any of these things. It's just me. I don't get into, Akasha records, and I know what I need to know out of, stones and crystals. If the whole list, there's people out there that know way better than I do what they are. So I just do what I do, found my process that works for me.
Yeah, I think everybody has their own way to do that. I mean, I'm not sure how it all works, but I think that it's just, it's how their spirit guides come through to them, and that's just the way it happens. And it's all done a little differently, probably.
You know what I do that probably, I think it probably again depends, but I'm sure there's a lot of psychic mediums that do this, is I write. And what I'll do, and some of this is keeping organized as well. And just like we were talking about, when I go back, I could sometimes just have said something. And let's say if I'm talking to spirit guide versus a deceased person, because there's different energies. I will write the question out and, the answer kind of a thing too. And again, it'll be in pieces. It might be just words, but it's enough for me to, okay. And if I have to go back during that reading to reference something, it's there. Again, writing was something that I just started doing to help me. And it's just stuck now. So I always tell people, if we're doing readings, I go, if you see me doing this, I'm not being rude. I'm not ignoring you. I'm paying attention. And then I'll hold up the paper and say, I'm just writing, so that they know.
Right. Yeah, I had a medium that was out at Ashmore one night, and she told me that she saw somebody stand in the corner, and it was a tall gentleman. I said, "Don't tell me." She said, "Let me tell you what he looks like, and you tell me if I'm right." I said, "No, let me change that." I said, "Let me write down what I think you're going to tell me, and then we'll compare it." Because I could sit there as a venue owner, I could say, "Yep, that's exactly who's there." It makes her feel good, it makes everybody feel good, but it may not be truthful.
Right.
So I wrote down everything I thought she was going to tell me as quick as I could, and they videotaped the whole thing and did it, and was watching everything. And we got done. I said, "All right, go ahead and do it. Tell me what you got." And she did it. The only thing that we disagreed on, and we were right, we were together, was I was trying to think of real fast how to talk about like an Amish type men's hat, and I couldn't think of Amish hat. So, but yeah, I just said like a big brill hat, a big brim hat. And some people, they thought it was kind of like a big baseball cap. I'm like, no, that was like the one goes all the way
like
around.
Like a rim, yeah.
Yeah, and
brim.
And that's what. Yeah, everything was identical. I mean, we were like spot on everything we had. That was the only thing that was a little bit, out of like 10 items I wrote down, that was the only thing that was still different. So I think that's what's kind of nice too. Like you said, you write stuff down, but I think that kind of helps, verify, when it gives a little more authenticity to something too. When you're telling somebody, if you're writing this stuff down, and then you tell them, or they are telling you, and you're writing down what you're thinking, you're not like leading them down that road just to try to,
you know what? That's a good point. That is a really good point, because, there have been a couple times where I have done that, where something's come up and I've gone, and of course, though, it's backwards, so they have to look like they're looking in a mirror at it, but I'll hold it up because it's reverse when you throw it in the camera, and I'll be like,
right,
just so you know, before they even see my hand go anywhere else, and then hold up the paper so they can see what was written on there. Yeah, because that is a good point. The other thing is too, is talking about dealing with the different types of psychic mediums out there, is people tend to think, one is, you're not a mind reader. It isn't like a mentalist kind of magician act type thing, that you'll see like on some of these, I've seen them on like America's Got Talent or something. That's different. It's also, you can pick up different things. I have worked in doing a reading, doing tandem with another person that who's a psychic medium, had never worked with. And we very quickly found just the right rhythm when you'd sit down with the person. And at one point, I think, and I could be wrong about this, I'm just doing this from memory. Like, I had the grandmother and she had the grandfather of this woman we were reading. And we just stayed with it and followed that along. It was a little bit nicer because you didn't have to jump as much, because sometimes the other siders will be kind of like, pop in with things. But you can't, now, if you ask me, did I see the grandfather? No, I didn't. Nor did she see the grandmother. Because at this point, I think wherever we tuned first, we kind of were able to stay there. You weren't necessary to take it in. But even then, you can have different mediums go through, let's say, the same haunted location. And some are going to they're going to pick up different things. Because there's a lot of information out there. So it just makes sense that you're not always going to get exactly the same thing. Sometimes you do crossovers, obviously, but it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean by that?
Right.
All right,
See,
now,
Mike
Mike.
actually has a question for you. Mike from the Porcelain Throne has a question for you.
He's like, do I take 2 Pepto-Bismols or one? After your experience over time, what advice would you give to someone that realizes they also have a gift? Do it. You have to be willing. Here's the thing. There's so many things in this. I think for me, it was trusting the other side, trusting myself. Confidence is huge in working on those things. Because like anything in life, just like with people, if I don't have that trust that they got me. Because there's been a couple times where like maybe I felt really sick and I'm like, I probably really shouldn't have been doing the read, but I didn't want to cancel. And and I literally have put my hand out like, you're with me, right? Okay. I'm trusting you're there. And then you just go for that. The other thing is you have to be willing, and this is going to sound maybe silly, but to look, how I would say, and that's not really a thing. I was going to say look stupid because that's not the word, but look, to be wrong. And what I mean by that is, here's the thing. I used to freak out about this, and it is so true. Somebody says, I used to be told by other psychic mediums, if you're in a read and you get something and it feels pretty, like strong, like this is what it is. And they're going like, I don't know. No. And that, like they're, all right, well, just, make a note of that, because we're either going to be coming back to this during this read or something's going to happen. And inevitably, that's exactly what happens. Either it comes up later from something comes back to that. I've had people email me afterwards and say, oh my gosh, you said this. And I mean, there was this whole, like, one time it was I don't want to say family drama, but there was some family secrets apparently. And they didn't know this, and then came back and said, oh my gosh, you were so right. One of those about it. So just, even if you feel like, oh, like at first I'd be like, oh, I said something wrong. Now I'm just like, all right, just note that, because this is going to come back, and it goes back to the confidence and the trust and just doing it. I will say this though, Mike, I don't read people I know. Meaning, well, like if I might know their face, or Facebook or something is different, but a friend or family, I don't like to read. I think, one, you're biased. Sometimes you get some really difficult information or conversation you're having, and you don't want to sometimes, what you know about people, especially like family, there's a prejudice in there, like, oh no, they wouldn't feel this way, and that's blocking it. It complicates it. Not everybody's like that. But some of us are, where we're like, no, I don't want to read. And because I have done it too, and felt so uncomfortable. I had like my cousin's father come in, and I didn't feel comfortable telling her. stuff that was coming through. You know what I mean? So my
Right.
advice is don't read family. You know.
You know, you said sometimes people don't, you know, when something comes through to you and the others, you know, the other people you're talking to is like, that doesn't make any sense like that. I have a friend of mine who's a psychic, calls that psychic amnesia. He said because they'll think about it a little later and like, oh, that's what that was. Yeah, I forgot that you know that they did this or something. So
Yep.
I
And
think
and again, happens all the time. But like when you're first starting, there's that concern, like, oh, like maybe I've, messed up here. It something's going on. And but again, as you get that trust to the other side, confidence in yourself, and realizing that this is more times than not, 99% of the time, it'll come back somehow, either later in that or after the fact. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that," kind of thing. Um,
it's it's kind of crazy sometimes when you talk to different psychics or different mediums. I have a friend of mine in town now. The first time I met him was he wanted me to take care of some insurance business for him. I walked into his office where he was at, and he said, I introduced myself to him. I said, "Hey, my name's Robin." And he's like, "Yeah, Damon." Da, 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 da. We were talking, and he's like, he looks at me, he's like, "You have a right bundle branch block." I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. He's saying, then he starts saying about the insurance stuff. I'm like, wait a minute. How did you know that? Because I mean, I've had people I've told that have had heart problems, but they don't sit there and spell it out exactly what it is because most people are like, oh, okay, whatever that means. And, but yeah, you knew exactly what it was. I said, it's cost me thousands of dollars to find out exactly what you told me in 5 seconds. They said, so that's
do,
not quite right. But
do you know, you just mentioned something with when you're talking about your health. I have to tell you this too. The one, if it were not for, and this is directly related to, again, Scotty Rourke's encouragement. He had mentioned to me that he saw me as a medical intuitive. And I'm like, what? Like, I mean, I kind of, yeah, there's some things like I could reference to it. Well, as I was doing like a lot of the video, Zoom reads, I started, and I didn't do that initially. I started doing what I call body scans and doing medical intuitive. And absolutely, again, I mean, this is from the other side. I'm like, thank you, like for giving me the ability to be able to help, just be that conduit. I'm not doing anything. I'm just passing info along. But I had a woman and I was reading, and the whole time she's like, I'm saying things, and she was doing that kind of stone face, like, not yes, no, not really acknowledging anything. But I just kept going. She was one of the people afterwards. She said, she emailed me that I had freaked her out because she was having some health problems that she hadn't told anybody about, the specifics of what I mentioned to her too. And she went to get, like, this was whatever, a day or two later, she went and called to get a doctor's appointment. And she says, and again, usually you wait. She goes, but what are the chances? They had like a cancellation. And she's like, so now I'm like really worried. She went in, long story short, she basically, and I've, read with her since, but she emailed me back. She said that the doctor told her that it's a good thing that she came in, because it was something that he could take care of now, but had she waited, it would have been very serious for consequences for her. So that was one of the first, not one of the first time, but that beginning of, doing them, that I went, all right. And so now that's kind of part of my repertoire, if you will. I kind of start out with a body scan, and if something hits me medically, I will bring that up, because I was like, wow, again, like, just to be, that whether you want to look at it as God or angels or the other, siders or spirit guides, everybody has their own beliefs. They are trying to they want to help. And they used me that day to help this lady and she actually said it probably saved her life, which is just crazy to think, So you're right. It's like if I see it now, I mean, I'm not going to walk up to somebody random. I don't do that anyway, because I don't think that's cool to read people. Like, it's going to happen. And intuitive, you're just going to pick from people without trying. But even if I have a client, I just told her, I said, we were talking, I said, yeah, about 2 weeks ago, you cried mine. I was like, oh, there's some big change going on there with you. But then I leave it alone because it's not my business. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you, so to say, hire me, invite me to do it is one thing. I don't think you should try to read people who don't want to be read.
No, I agree.
I think it's a kind of an invasion of, I don't know, privacy, and emotionally too. Sometimes you can catch them off guard, and it can be a lot for the other people.
Yeah.
All right, I'm reading another question here now. Oh, you got it. You pulled it up. Mary, how would you tie in your job with talking to people on the phone and never having met them in person? I'm not sure what she means.
I wonder if she kind of means like basically you're doing a reading for somebody over the phone that you've never met.
Well, it's the same. I mean, that's kind of what it is. So, I mean, you would tie in your job with talking to people on the phone. Well, I mean, I do both phone, because you do get some people who just want to do phone only. And then you get, I personally like the video calls because I'm a people person. So I want to kind of see somebody, it's just kind of nice to see them.
Is it easier to do the video ones than it is over the phone, as far as being able to read them?
Do you know, initially I thought that would be the case. And I still want to say it is, but it's not. It's the same. Because every time I've done the phone, it's just as good a read. It's my preference. Like I said, I think that's what's really kind of, weighing or tainting on it. It's like saying, oh, video, because I'm a people person. I want to see you. I just like that connection. But is the read the same? No, it's the same. Yeah. So you could do the phone. I mean, you can do photo reads. That was the other thing. That was one of the first things I was starting at, was doing photo reads.
She kind of summed that up a little bit more for us.
Meaning, can you tell a lot about people on the phone versus meeting them? It's the same, meeting or on the phone. I tend to be, it was phrased to me once, a conversational psychic. So a lot of times I will meet new people, and whether it's phone conversation or whatever, and you start having just, it's something where you can have chit chat conversation. I will tend to bring up most of the topics, main points of whatever's going on in their life without ever asking them what's going on in their life. It'll come back because I'll be like, yeah, well, when I was working as a paralegal, I found this, da 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 da. And they're like, why I decided to bring that particular point up or something. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to school right now for a paralegal. Yeah. And I just had that problem. And people just think it's normal conversation. Occasionally, I get blocked. There's a couple people, like there's one of them is my daughter, drives me, and isn't that crazy? My own daughter. It is like,
there's probably a reason behind that. You may not really want to know what it is.
maybe it is. Maybe she has enough, like somewhat her own ability. She's putting up the block. And then another more distant friend I have, he is just like an anomaly to me. And I really began to realize, like I said, different periods in my life of like, I thought everybody functioned that way. And then all of a sudden I realized like how cut off, and I feel like it's just not there, when it's just not underlying that energy connection in that way. Yeah, so it kind of makes me frustrated. And it's not, again, not that I'm going to read people. It's just that they're like, it's like black, like a wall. There's only been a couple, but it happens.
Yep. I think she's probably talking about locations.
Yes and no. Meaning it depends on what side of it I'm on. If I'm doing the medium side, no, I don't want to know anything. I prefer not to, because sometimes, our other senses can trick us, and it's a distraction more than anything. So I would prefer not to. And the same thing I think would apply in readings in personal history as well. I mean, how can you? I'm huge, because here's the thing, whether it's on the medium side of things or as an investigator, paranormal investigator, I'm all about validation. I'm always saying, like, validation, validation. If you're using a piece of equipment and investigating, validation, ask questions that, you know, the answers to see if this is what this whatever piece of equipment is going to tell you. Because you can ask questions and get answers, but doesn't mean anything if there's no baseline there of validation. So for either or, I would prefer not.
I like, when I do investigations myself, I like to know the history of the place, but I could care less what other people have experienced as far as the paranormal side of things goes, because everybody's going to be different as far as what they experience. And I like to know the history of a location, but that's it. Just the general history, not the paranormal history, just the general history of a location.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that part too. Yeah, because sometimes people say, "Well, I don't want to know anything going in for investigation." I'm like, "Well, how do you know if you don't know anything? How do you know where, maybe to set up equipment, hot spots that might be known? You don't have to know specifically what happened in that area, but you can be like, okay, that's a hot spot." So yeah, it's, as a medium, no, I do not. As an investigator, yes, I do want to know. Then I do want to know a certain amount. Now I'm kind of in that in between spot where, like, if I were where I'm working with other teams, so they know, and that's all that's important, so that I can go in as a medium and they can compare afterwards as well for themselves, for their own case files.
Now, what I've done a lot of times with taking mediums into different locations is that we'll go out and interview the family and things like that, and then we'll bring the medium in. We don't necessarily investigate right then. We'll go interview the family to find out what's going on, and then we'll bring the medium in and just kind of lead her around or him around a little bit at just different locations to see if they pick up on anything. And that seems to work out pretty well, because then you can validate what the family's telling you, if they pick up on some of the same stuff, because there's so many times you go out and do these private investigations of, just the general public, at their location, that they're kind of making some things up, so to speak, because they just want to see how things work and how what you do. And I think a lot of times they want to just try to make fun of somebody, so they'll tell them all these big stories, and they get out there and you're coming up with all these answers, and what they told you is total BS. And it didn't happen, or that's what they're hoping they can do, is they can disprove everything. That's like, well, this never happened. We just want to see if we could fool you.
Right. So yeah, it really depends, right? Because I mean, if you're, I am, I'm so, when I do, like, when I would do my own investigations, again, as a paranormal investigator versus a medium investigator, I'll say it that way. I tend to be very, very strict on my controls, of how everything is, and nobody else is coming in, and have the, security cameras just watching that, but just the placement of all the equipment, the audio, how things are run, using things statistically. So, I mean, I'm pretty stringent on those things as on the investigator when it's my own case. As a medium, I have done that, where I did go into a home and it wasn't going to, I could tell by the first meeting, it wasn't going to end up being, nor should it have been, a full investigation. I did do the medium thing, private, kind of, and it was just me and another person there. And so they knew I was doing it. And then I approached him, and it was really interesting because I was getting things that were in a different language too. And I cannot tell you because this is years ago, but whatever maybe it was, Hungarian or something, that the Baba or Nana or whatever the heck, who I don't even remember, was speaking. And there were some phrases. So I would write out, phonetically what I was hearing. So yeah, it's just kind of all over the place, as far as really depends on the location, the case. Is it mine? Am I helping somebody else? What am I doing? What is it doing? Because I find that awkward. Like sometimes in a physical sense, when you join other people, they got their own procedures, and I kind of, they think, oh, well, you've been doing this for so long. Well, no, you've got to tell me what you want me to do because this is your thing. I don't want to, how do you want this to be? And if they don't, then that's on them.
Yeah.
So
I think James has been watching the Kling Brothers, the Investigators podcast or Everyday Paranormal podcast too much. That the Kling Brothers always say they treat everything like a crime scene and the ghosts are suspects.
Well, I don't know about. Well, I guess they could be suspects of what though. But yeah, I could see the crime scene thing though. I get that because it's kind of like I say that too. Like it's not really a CSI type of thing, but you are getting really that specific with things. You have to. I think you do. And again, it depends. It depends on why you're doing it, how you're doing it, what your purpose is. Some people are just going out there because they want to experience it. And maybe they're just learning, and a lot of times they're learning from watching television. So they're trying to go through it. But probably the longer you do it, the more you keep trying to pull your own reins in, so to say,
So I know that you did a documentary or a video and all with Bigfoot.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm going to say, well, there's two because I have to do that for Mike as well. I did the first one, which is called Finding Jay, which is on the Wisconsin Bigfoot. That's on Amazon. And then also the docuseries, The Shadow Dimension with Mike Ricksecker, which is really a really good documentary. Really was proud to be part of that as well. And Jay's going to be coming out with a second one this year. So this year, those are the other little things you were doing. Like last year I was doing some, I don't want to say voiceovers, but like interviewing kind of stuff for the second one that's coming out this year, which is, I believe it's Finding Jay Beyond the Kettle. And in that one there was some stuff we were doing in the field. Because our thing back, because we for 5 years were doing this, right? And then he continued on gung-ho since, but we would do the Skulder and Molly type of thing, and I'm the Scully. And so he would always say, oh, so, all right. So if we're standing here right now and all 20 Bigfoot just start surrounding us, what are you going to tell me? What are you going to think? You're going to tell me that? And I go, well, first I'd probably look to see if there were some mushrooms or something, like I were hallucinating. And he goes, and he gets so mad at me. But that's why he called me out this year or last year. Actually, it's probably more than that. 2 years ago is probably when we went. But last year we were going over it. Because he said if I want somebody to come in here and basically tear this apart, trying to debunk it, it's going to be Mary. So was my purpose, to come in there. And you know what? I couldn't debunk it. I don't know if it'll make it into the second one, but I actually said to him at some point, oh, with the face and the cringy face going, this really pains me to say this, but I can't find a reason why this happened, like a logical, reasonable. And he's like, yes, scored. But yeah, so
Marcus,
that, that
hopefully Marcus doesn't have this problem. I mean, I divorced mine, but I'm not sure how you get rid of another one. So
it really depends on the type of attachment, what it's all about, and then there's multiple ways to do it. There is really no easy way to answer that. There just isn't. That would be could be pretty lengthy. On the type of attachment, who's got the attachment, how long, what's going on, and then even multiple ways to rid that. It's easier, in my opinion, it's easier to get rid of negative than it is in a location than it is, mom and pop, type of ghost. If grandma doesn't want to go, she's not going. Negative has a different thing that you can work on. You can usually get that actually surprisingly gone, because you know what? Here's the other thing: the nicer ones, if you really tell them you have a problem, they'll cool it down anyway. Because sometimes they just don't realize they're just trying to get your attention, and people take a book flying, knocking off the shelf is, oh my gosh, what was that? And it's somehow it's threatening. No, or if they, do this, like, well, they just pulled my backpack. They're just trying to get your attention. It's not evil.
now your cat does that, and everybody thinks it's funny.
James, I'm sorry. James just looks in here. He says, yeah, I worked as a private investigator. You know what? I think because of being a paralegal for a lot of years as well. I know that sounds weird to compare the two, but it's that very factual base. So I do get it. It's breaking it down.
Right.
I look at evidence as, would this stand up in a court of law? And so you always try to raise the bar on the type of evidence that you get. So I can understand what you're saying. All right, what is this one? All right, I'm reading them off the side here. I have gone with ghost hunt weekends and haunted nights with the Wrath Chasers. I enjoy seeing other people, techniques, and equipment they use, but I do prefer going in small groups without all the extra people. I agree. I used to do them when I was doing the radio show, my own. I did some of these listener appreciations, and I would kind of cap it because I think you lose something with, not that it's bad, but the more people you have, it's nice once in a while to have that more intimate, less.
Yeah, the contamination gets really bad.
That's the word I was going to use. Less contamination. I couldn't think of it. Thank you.
Yep. So that makes a big difference. The classes that you have at college, before we have to get out of here, do you still do those?
I am. You know what I was going to say, and I'll put this in, is that if you go to the paranormalmd.com, you can find everything there, from the mediums to the classes I'm doing currently. College page, that's virtual. I stopped doing a lot of the in classroom locally, just want to do in person locally, because you can reach more people, and through the Infinity Foundation. So through the Infinity Foundation, come summer, there's going to be more classes. There's going to be a virtual gallery. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I'm still doing those, and it's that would probably be the best way to kind of search those places out and sign up there and doing it that way.
But yeah, check out her website because she has a lot of information on there, and you have your book listed on there as well.
I do. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. Yeah, I do. It gets kind of a lot, but again, it's like I've been doing stuff for so many years. I cannot commit to just doing one of those things. So I just do them all, sometimes a little more one than the other.
So you have some events coming up that you're going to be going to at all, or?
I'm going to be doing
besides France.
Yeah, besides France, right? I'm trying to think of, like, what the heck am I doing? I land up, I think this year there's like a few different things. There's a virtual, like I said, the virtual psychic medium gallery. I'm going to be doing that with another uh, psychic medium and remote viewer out of California. I'm going to be at Michigan in August. I'm going to be doing the Hannah House in I think August as well, and Potographs. And then I'm doing at my local library, actually. I'm going to be doing two different things. I'm doing a lecture there, but I'm doing a public ghost hunt at not my neighborhood, but not too far from me. Public ghost hunt there. So that's going to be kind of fun to do. So there's just a few public events, couple conferences, and some more of the.
Yeah, in fact, if you're the Potographs is at Ashmore Estates, that's when you're going to be at.
I think so. That terrible. I should know that.
I should know it too, but yep, I think that's, let's see.
No, it's not.
No, I think you're going to be.
This is in September. It's
yeah.
Ripon or something, Wisconsin.
Right. Yep. That's what I was just thinking of. So I didn't think who was going to be down there at Ashmore, and it's like, nope, you're going to be up in Wisconsin. That's right.
Yeah. I may have another conference too in September. That's going to be kind of a gallery ghost hunt. Will probably be my participation in it. But yeah, so pretty much I'm like from July to the end of August. And then guess what? November, I get to have a knee replacement. Woohoo!
Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. So next year I'll be getting a late start again and everything.
You know what happens when you have one knee replacement, don't you?
You walk like this?
2 knee replacements.
Oh,
so yeah, usually they do one, they're like, oh, now that we've done one, we're going to do the other. So
my left one is at least 2 years behind my right knee, but it's my again. It's always my driving side, foot surgeries, backs, everything's always the hips. It's on the right, the driving. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that again because I cannot take prescription pain medication, and that's going to be a really long recovery. So I figure I want to get as much as I can in until November 1st this year. I'll be off for about 6 months again, and then I'll be hitting the ground running, hopefully running, if not walking, by next summer again.
Well, I know it's a long ways off, but you'll be come back down here in February of next year.
Yeah, I've actually thought about this already, Robin, because I think I'm gonna need somebody to drive me, because I just think it's like about a maybe 4 hour, maybe 4.5 to you drive. And I'm like, with the right knee, I'm not sure. So I don't want to risk it. So I'll be bringing someone with me as my driver.
There you go.
And company and friend. I shouldn't say it like that. It's my driver.
Your chauffeur.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be in France and everything.
My driver will be bringing me.
So, hey, whatever works. So anything else we need to know about Mary Marshall before we get out of here? Mary
Marshall misses you and all you guys down there, man. I gotta see. I'm just happy to finally be getting out and hopefully seeing some of you. You're gonna be at Michigan in August, right? For sure. So I'll see you there. So that's good. Get that bear hug ready.
That's right. Yeah. And yep, that's about the only place I've got going on until October, because we're building a house out at Ashmore, so it's going to be out there about every weekend. So I'm gonna tight up out there all year.
Are you really?
Yep.
For you to live in?
No, I've got somebody's going to live out there on the property, and so we're building a house, and we tore the trailer down and started building the house and put the foundation up yesterday. So this weekend I'll go out and start working on more of it.
You are amazing. I don't know how. I just don't even. I get exhausted just hearing about the stuff that you're doing. I don't know how you do it.
So yeah, my 65-year-old body is telling me, like, it's enough of this crap. It's like, you need to stop. So it's like, nah. got to keep going while I can.
You know what? I feel the same way. It's like just somebody compared me once to Dory in Finding Nemo because she in the movie, she's like, swimming, 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 just keep on swimming. And I'm like, always keep on moving, just keep moving. Cause some point you're not going to be able to move anymore. So you might as well do it while you can.
Yep. That's kind of the way I look at it too. So just keep going while I can. And when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Nothing I can do about it,
Yeah.
But well, we're gonna let you get out of here for the evening, but like I said, check out Mary's website there, the Paranormal MD, and to get other information, her book, classes, and all that stuff. She's got a lot of information, a lot of stuff on mediumship there too. So check it all out. And
you can
find out what's going on.
Do that. And real quick, Katie, it's the Chicagoland area, but a lot of the stuff is like, again, whether it's you're looking for like medium, psychic medium reads, or you're wanting just information, or you're interested in classes, mostly all of the paranormal class, all that stuff is virtual now. So it can be done online. So it doesn't matter where you live or I live.
Yep. It's the easiest, to check it out online. You can find all the information right there as well. So thanks so much for being with me tonight. And sorry Mike couldn't make it, but it was nice that I got you all myself.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. Mike, when you listen back, or if you're not, or you're still on there, I hope you feel better, and I miss you too. I really do. We gotta talk soon.
So, all righty. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
We'll talk to you later. All righty. Bye.
Bye.
So that's great having Mary on tonight and talking about some stuff with her mediumship that she's doing. And like I said, check out her website because she does have a lot of information on there that you'll enjoy about medium stuff and whatever else she's doing too. So, but other than next week, we've let me see what I've got. Oh, there we go. Next week, Mike and Chris from the Tennessee Race Chasers are going to join us. So hopefully Mike will be back couch, but yeah, Mike and Chris will be here from Tennessee Race Chasers, telling us what they've got going on, and who knows, maybe they got something happening, something new coming up and all too. But they're going to be at Ashmore the weekend after. So, but yeah, so join us next week when we talk to those guys. So looking forward to that as well. But other than that, we will talk to everybody next week. Hopefully Mike will be back with us. If not, I got this. Good night, everybody.
My name is Mike, and I'm the founder of the Lost Limbs Foundation. The Lost Limbs Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides assistance to amputee children in need of prosthetics. I started the charity after my own struggles after my leg being amputated just above the knee. Prosthetics cost thousands of dollars, and the average lifespan is 5 to 7 years on a prosthetic. Kids are constantly growing, so they'll go through multiple prosthetics throughout their life. This is the prosthetic leg that I use, and the cost was about $70,000. The Rhodes Hotel is in Atlanta, Indiana, and is owned and operated by the Lost Limbs Foundation. We are currently doing photo shoots, ghost hunts, and special events to help raise money for the charity. For more information, you can go to lostlimbsfoundation.org. With your help, we can help these kids one step at a time.